What's going on with Russell Brand? Russell Brand is a popular comedian and political cultural commentator who today was hit with an accusation of sexual assault and rape in the UK. And on May 2nd, he's going to be going to London to have to defend himself. I want to talk about this because this is not just about Russell Brand. It's about the relationship between men and women, masculinity and femininity, and the culture of abusers versus accused. There's a trend here of men who are aligned with a political right, or at minimum, men who are critical of Western leftist governments, who are rich and famous, consistently getting accused of rape and sexual assault by anonymous women who claim that they engaged in sexual congress with these men 10 or even 20 years ago in Russell's case. And before we get into this, I just want to acknowledge that there's 100% an issue with women getting raped. It's still a problem. It has always been a problem. And it is a responsibility of men and women to address that problem. There is a huge issue with women who actually are victims getting raped and then being afraid to report that rape. Rape is one of the most traumatic experiences that any human can go through. I can't imagine what it's like for a woman to go through that. I totally understand on a human level why a woman wouldn't want to report that. And I want to bring attention to the issues that men also face in modernity. Because not only is this personal for me as a man, I don't think this gets much attention. It's becoming a rite of passage for men who are a threat to the left to get accused of rape at some point in their career. We saw it with Trump. We saw it with Pete Hegseth. We saw it with Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh. And now we're seeing it with Russell, who over the last few years has gone from being more aligned with the left to being aligned with the right. And what Russell's going through is he's getting accused of 4 charges, alleged incidents from the period of 1999 to 2005, involving 4 separate anonymous women. I don't know if he did it. It is entirely possible that he has skeletons in his closet and he's now gonna get held accountable. And if he did do something bad, good. But let's look at this larger trend of masculine men being accused of rape. Consistently, it's men who are famous, who have money, and who have power. So is it possible that there's some rise of rapists to fame and power? Yeah, that's a possibility. And it's possible that it's not, because this isn't really about Russell Brand. If he did it, of course he should be punished.
This is about creating a culture of accountability for both men and women.
One of the triumphs of the feminist movement is that it helped women become more financially independent so that they don't have to tolerate abusive relationships. And I think it was a triumph of the Me Too movement that it helped genuine victims get heard. And there are side effects, because we've created a culture where all of the accountability is on the accused and none of it is on the accuser, where a woman can remain anonymous, risking nothing to her reputation, while the man has everything to lose. Where a woman can accuse a man of rape literally decades later. And I just want to share the position that this puts us in as men. Because look, despite all of this feminist rhetoric, society expects men to lead. And we're expected to lead in romance. We approach the women. We invite the woman on the first date. We initiate the first sexual encounter. We make the marriage proposal. And I don't have any issue with that. I think that's just what masculinity requires of men. And it also means that the man is always in the proactive position, whereas women are in the passive position. And women see from their perspective how scary it is as the more physically vulnerable sex. There's a ton of risk being a woman. They constantly have to be on guard. And there's also risk in intimacy for men. Because what many people don't appreciate is how vulnerable it is as a man to be proactive in romance and sex with women, because we're the ones taking the risk of action. We are on the offense. Women are on the defense. We are the ones who have to win a woman over through a process of trial and error. We are the ones who have to fear that if we make an error, we will be put on trial. All of the legal risk is on us in sexual situations. All of it. So what power do women and men have in sexual dynamics? Men have the power to abuse and women have the power to accuse. And there are dishonest men and women. There are women who would lie and try to take down a man for money. Pete Hegseth, when he got accused of rape, and allegedly there was surveillance footage of him going with the woman hand in hand, like all hunky-dory, he paid her $50,000 in settlement. There's a financial incentive, and there are women who would abuse that financial incentive. There are women who have low integrity. There are women who would lie just because they don't like a man and don't like his political views. They don't like how he's shifted to the right. And when a man is rich and famous and influential, that incentive is even higher. So here's some examples. You guys remember when Trump was charged with sexual assault? Well, the woman who did that, her name was E. Jean Carroll. And her case was funded by one of the biggest Democratic donors, Reid Hoffman. Why was Reid Hoffman involved in what should have been a dispute between Trump and E. Jean Carroll? Maybe Reid is just a good Samaritan helping a damsel in distress. Or it was a political attack with a very high bounty of millions of dollars. If you actually look into the details of the case, there's a lot of inconsistencies. For one, E. Jean Carroll wore a dress on the cover of New Yorker that she claimed she was wearing when Donald Trump raped her. There's just one problem though. The time at which she claims that Donald Trump raped her, that dress hadn't even been made. So it was literally impossible. And then there's her behavior afterward, during her press run after she won a verdict that awarded a massive settlement to her. She went on talk shows saying how some women fantasize about rape.
I think most people think of rape as it is a violent assault. It is not.
I think most people think of rape as being sexy.
Mm. Let's take a short break.
Think of the fantasies.
Mm. We're going to take a quick break. If you can stick around, we'll talk more on the other side.
You're fascinating to talk to.
She made a joke about how she was going to go on a massive shopping spree and going to bring a television host along with her, Rachel Maddow.
Talked about using some of Trump's money that you're about to get to help shore up women's rights. Do you know what that might be, what that might look like?
Yes, Rachel. Yes.
Tell me.
I had such great ideas for all the good I'm going to do with this money. First thing, Rachel, you and I are going to go shopping. We're going to get completely new wardrobes, new shoes, motorcycle for Crowley, new fishing rod for Robbie. Rachel, what do you want? Penthouse? It's yours,
Nothing.
Rachel. Penthouse and France? You want France? You want to go fishing in France? No? Oh, all right, okay.
That's a joke.
Although if me fishing in France could do something for women's rights, I would take the hit. You know, I would obviously take one for the team. All right, let me as if you need persuasion in that regard.
So the way that she was behaving certainly was not as a traumatized victim. And maybe that's the way that she deals with her trauma. But there are a lot of inconsistencies in that case. The reason I say this is because there's what happens in the court, and then there's what also happens in the court of public opinion. Because even if the man is exonerated in the court, the public opinion might still be against him. Because here's another example. You remember the Duke Lacrosse incident from 2006, where a woman accused several members of a Duke lacrosse team, college men, of raping her? Well, a few months ago, she admitted that she made it all up. I want you to watch this clip.
And I testified falsely against them by saying that they raped me when they didn't. And that was wrong. And I betrayed the trust of a lot of other people who believed in me. And made up a story that wasn't true because I wanted validation from people and not from God. And I hope that they can forgive me.
So she lied about several men and ruined their reputations. For the rest of their lives, anytime someone goes to Google their names, accused of rape will show up. And that's what's going to happen to Russell Brand. Anytime you Google Russell Brand, accused of rape. Now, whether he actually gets charged and proven in the courts of actually raping someone is kind of beyond the point. And especially in this world where so much of our lives is online and so much is about our personal brand, everyone, you don't even have to be someone on camera, everyone has a personal brand. It's etched on the internet forever. This woman accused men of raping her and ruined their reputations. They have to live with that for the rest of their lives. Do you understand how terrifying that is as a man? Someone can just lie, ruin your reputation, and have no consequences. And I'll go even further than this. Women are more connected to their emotions than men. That's beautiful. That's one of the reasons that as men, we love women. It connects us to God. And this is also one of the things that makes women better caretakers. Women are also more collectivist and more harmonious by nature. And this makes perfect sense. Have you ever seen how women will even go to the bathroom together if they're at a nightclub? Well, that's necessary for safety. Women are more reliant on the group for their individual safety because they're physically weaker. So women's ability to be empathetic, to be peacemakers, harmonious, caretake, nurture, those are all strengths. And every strength has an accompanying weakness because women also tend to be more prone to neuroticism and anxiety than men. Globally, women are about twice as likely as men to be diagnosed with an anxiety disorder. In the US, around 23.4% of women experienced an anxiety disorder in the last year, compared to about 14.3% of men in the US. And it makes sense from an evolutionary standpoint because women have far more things that they have to worry about on a day-to-day basis that can threaten their literal physical safety. Namely, half of the human population. Every man is theoretically a threat to a woman, so they constantly have to be watching out, and it totally makes sense how that can manifest in neuroticism and anxiety. And all of that also makes women more susceptible to emotionality and emotional manipulation than men. Women are more likely to have their emotions override their logic. I'm not speaking of every woman. I'm speaking in broad general trends. And what's been going on is this agenda of feminism, radical feminism, this agenda of men are bad, we don't need men, be a boss babe, don't be a stay-at-home mom, that's lame, having children is a death sentence, better have an abortion. All of this is dividing men and women because women and men need each other. We have complementary strengths and weaknesses. And the more we are divided, the more we can be conquered. So women's ability to be emotionally connected is a wonderful gift when empathy is called for, and it is dangerous when clarity is needed. So let me paint a picture for you about what's been going on in society. We have been talking about toxic masculinity for years now. We have been talking about how terrible the patriarchy is for years now. We have been telling women that they don't need men. We have elevated being a career woman at the cost of being a stay-at-home mom. We have somehow made taking care of the next generation of humanity and fully focusing on that something to be looked down upon. And meanwhile, men are being neutered. Sperm counts are dropping. Testosterone levels are too. Women are being told that men are bad, and men have been believing it. So is it possible that we've been creating a world where women have been conditioned to view men as their enemies? Is it possible that a woman who had sex with a man 20 years ago might take issue with that man's new political beliefs and revise her memory of a consensual act from 2 decades ago? Is it possible that the political opposition could find a woman who has an axe to grind with his political opponent and say, yeah, you know what? When he was maybe very dominant with you during sex, or when he said that rude thing to you, or didn't treat you in a gentlemanly like fashion, maybe he raped you. Maybe we should get some money from this guy. Maybe we should stick it to him. Stick it to the patriarchy. Is it possible that that happens? Of course. Is it possible that a woman who has been conditioned to hate men because she's been told her whole life on social media and in schools that masculinity is evil might view a sexual encounter from years ago instead of being something that she regrets and maybe having been a consensual act with a man that she wishes she hadn't actually opened herself up to as rape? All these things are possible, and that's what's scary. And increasingly, I see it happening to masculine men who speak their mind, even if it means disapproval from leftist governments or women. Increasingly, I'm seeing this happen to political dissidents, and the timelines increase too, from accusations from 5 years ago to 10 years ago to 20 years ago. I see these accusations becoming more vague and prone to interpretation. I want you to look at this article from the BBC talking about Russell's accusations. The actor and comedian has denied allegations of rape, assault, and emotional abuse. What does that mean? Emotional abuse. Is emotional abuse illegal? What is the legal definition of emotional abuse? Emotional abuse can mean anything from a person saying something that another person doesn't like to calling that person horrible names. Emotional abuse can just be having a disagreement with a woman, or it can be genuine psychopathic narcissistic behavior. But these terms, they don't mean anything. These terms are designed to label someone. And you know what the scary thing is? It doesn't even matter if the person has actually done something wrong, because the accusation is the point. And we will see if Russell is charged. And if he actually did something illegal and immoral, he should be. But at this point, it kind of doesn't matter for his reputation, because we've created a culture where the court of public opinion deems that a man is guilty until proven innocent. And the moment you get accused, you lose. You lose business partners, people cut ties, you become toxic to be associated with, to be seen with. Not because people have proof, no, because people are concerned about their reputation being connected with yours. And zooming out from this, who wins here? No one. Women who are actually victims are now harder to believe because of liars who pretend to be victims.
Men have to spend their whole lives worried that a woman can change her mind about an interaction that they had 20 years ago and take legal action.
So what's the solution here? Accountability and responsibility on both sides. False accusers need to be punished just like actual abusers. Women need to report abuse within days of it happening, not decades. Rape is traumatic. And making a serious accusation is a serious responsibility, because rape is hard enough to prove without DNA evidence, and no such evidence exists decades later. And most fundamentally, we, men and women, we gotta stop viewing each other as each other's enemies. We gotta stop buying into this social agenda that we don't need each other, that we need to be apart, that a good life is spent being single and moving from hookup and casual encounter to encounter our whole lives. Because there's a fundamental breakdown happening between the sexes. It feels like everything that has allowed us to survive for 200,000 years is getting attacked. The nuclear family is being eroded. Long-term relationships are being abandoned. Masculinity is being demonized. The very idea of gender roles is being discarded. Women don't win if men lose. Men don't win if women lose. Men and women need each other. Real equality is not equivalence. We are equal, but we are different, but we are equally responsible. And if we are divided, then divided we will fall.